Hurricane Michael slams into Florida, and it is packing a mean punch. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. The storm made landfall this afternoon with winds of 150 miles an hour. Experts are already saying the damages from Michael could be catastrophic.
Amber Strong brings us a look at the storm that's ravaging the Florida Panhandle tonight.
Hurricane Michael crashed ashore Wednesday, bringing with it 150-mile-per-hour wind.
This is the worst storm that the Florida Panhandle has seen in more than 100 years.
Meteorologists predicting the Category 4 hurricane could produce storm surges of up to 13 feet and massive flooding. Governor Rick Scott warning residents along the coast to stay put after days of urging the 375,000 people along the path to leave.
Now the storm is here. It is not safe to travel across the Panhandle. If you are in a coastal area, do not leave your house. The time to evacuate in coastal areas has come and gone.
The storm rapidly increasing from a Category 2 to a Category 4, taking some residents by surprise.
We woke up this morning and all of a sudden it was first a Category 2 and now it's looking like it's going to be worse than that. So we're a little nervous.
Others opting to stay behind.
I just feel like you're safer if you just stay put and batten down the hatches.
Once the storm clears, rescue efforts will kick into gear. With more than 1,000 search and rescue personnel, 3,500 National Guard members, 135 Fish and Wildlife Commission officers, and 300 Florida State Troopers ready to deploy. Georgia officials are also bracing for Michael's hit.
We know that there's still going to be a considerable amount of damage from the wind and also from the flooding that is going to be associated with the rain.
With North Carolina gearing up once again only weeks after Florence.
Heavy rain and tropical storm force winds are headed our way. Make no mistake, Hurricane Michael is a dreadful storm.
As of now, North Carolina not expected to take the full hit of the storm, which should come as a relief to many residents, since many there are still cleaning up from the aftermath of Hurricane Florence. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Amber. Well, Jenna, the president has declared a state of emergency in Florida, ordering up federal assistance in the state.
Ben Kennedy has been monitoring the federal response to the storm, and he joins us now from the White House. Ben?
Well, Jenna and John, we're talking about a monster storm. President Trump was just briefed in the Oval Office this afternoon, where FEMA and the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristen Nielsen, broke down the federal, state, and local efforts to keep people safe. The governors in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida have declared states of emergency, and as John just said, the president has declared Florida a state of emergency. Utility companies in 14 states are ready to respond to energy outages and help get the power back on. In the meantime, shelters are open, stocked with food and supplies, and to top that, the National Guard is on the ground. 3,500 troops have been deployed to help. The Florida National Guard just tweeted, "Hurricane Michael is here, but so are we. Stay safe, Florida." President Trump retweeted the Florida National Guard moments ago and had this message for those who did not evacuate.
I say God bless you all. That's my message, because that's what it is. The storm is there. I mean, that storm is there. It's sort of too late to do anything about it now from the standpoint of moving. Tell us about that. If somebody said they're watching us now and they want to leave, it's...
The window to evacuate has come to a close.
Now, President Trump said he may visit the area after the storm passes, but it won't be until Sunday or Monday, as he does not want to do anything to disrupt recovery efforts. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, the White House.
Well, scientists with the U.S. Geological Survey predict Hurricane Michael will erode up to 75% of Florida beaches in the Panhandle, with waves and storm surges as high as 16 to 20 feet.
CBN National Security Correspondent Eric Rosales, who has rode out several hurricanes himself, joins us now. Eric, it's being called one of the most dangerous storms to hit Florida. Talk about it. I mean, this is serious.
This is a very serious storm, a very dangerous and possibly deadly storm. We're not only talking about the strong winds, over 100-mile-per-hour winds, but also the coastal flooding that's going to take place and the inland flooding that's going to take place. But when the actual storm makes its way onto landfall, we're going to have to worry about a storm surge that could reach up to 20 feet in some areas. That is very dangerous when we're talking about storm surges. You know, a storm surge will travel inland many, many miles, and 1 to 3 feet, it can literally knock your feet right off, and you can actually even carry away cars 1 to 3 feet, and up to 6 feet, it can carry large objects away, even flood lower levels of homes. And then you have 9 to 10 feet. It completely covers a one-story building, and very few places are safe to even travel anywhere.
Eric, you've rode out many storms, whether it's in Texas, North Carolina, or even in Puerto Rico. You know, when people who stay behind, they try to prepare by stocking up on food and supplies for days, but it's really more than just days that they have to be concerned about, right?
It's more than that. I mean, because when you're actually riding out a storm and you're having debris fly around, you're not only having things that are in the water. We're talking about Florida, folks. So we not only have snakes, we not only have alligators that you have to worry about out there, but you have to be able to know that help is not around the corner. Help will not come for weeks at a time. And you have to be able to kind of MacGyver your way to be able to survive in a storm like this. Let's say that you're actually riding out the storm and some flying debris, glass or something cuts you. You have to be able to know how to wrap that up or stitch yourself up so that you can be able to ride out this storm and be able to get to help eventually.
Eric, once this storm does pass, what are some of the big concerns then?
Well, we have to worry about the coastal and inland flooding. Like I said, you not only have the water and you have the animals that are in there, like the snakes and the alligators, but you also have to worry about what's in the water itself. You're going to have gasoline coming from cars. You're going to have oil, petroleum products, stuff that's coming in from the sewer, raw sewage. So you're going to have to be able to know how to be able to handle this type of area and be able to find clean drinking water on your own. When you're not prepared, when Mario, my photographer Mario Gonzalez and I, when we went into the storm, we were prepared. We had enough food and water to be able to last for weeks. We had the necessary clothing that we needed. We had gasoline tanks that because that's the biggest thing, is being able to find gas after the storm, because when you have no power, you have no cell service, you have nothing. You have to literally live off the land.
Based on firsthand experience.
Yes.
Eric Rosales, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Up next on the campaign trail, why women could make all the difference in the midterm election.
Welcome back. Campaigning has been suspended as much of Florida is dealing with the impact of Hurricane Michael, but the Senate race there has been highlighting the deep political divide. Abigail Robertson recently traveled to Florida and brings back this story.
The 2018 Florida Senate race is a clash of the titans, with two-time Republican Governor Rick Scott trying to unseat longtime Democratic incumbent Senator Bill Nelson.
This race is destined to be tight till the very end, because Florida is a very polarized state.
Longtime Florida political analyst Susan McManus tells CBN News early estimates look like the margin of victory could be 1%.
Partisanship is very deep in this state. The stakes are high. Money is rolling into this race from outside the state, obviously because Democrats are holding on for dear life to that seat.
And Republicans are giving it their all to win it over. With 28% of the state registered as no party, however, Governor Scott's walking a fine line as to how closely he associates with President Trump.
Governor Scott has a really tough time because he knows that he's got to capture a certain part of that no party affiliation independent vote, and he's got to continue to hold on to Republicans and at the same time try to think about some of those conservative Democrats in the Panhandle that might vote for him.
McManus calls Florida the most difficult state for campaigning because of its diversity and size. Statewide candidates must be careful on sensitive issues like gun control.
The issue itself plays quite differently depending upon where you are in Florida.
For example, rural voters see guns as necessary protection, while urban voters associate the weapons with two deadly events still fresh in their mind.
They have to talk about issues that are important to Florida, how to fix things.
Republican voters argue Nelson has been in office far too long.
He's a career politician at this point.
Senator Nelson is probably a great man, but he hasn't been in Florida in a long time.
Democrats believe he's done a good job fighting for Medicare, Social Security, and protecting Obamacare.
I like his stance on the issues.
McManus says at this point, it's still anyone's guess.
There's still what would be considered a lifetime between now and November.
Senator Nelson easily won his past elections, but Republicans are hopeful that with Governor Scott, they finally have a chance at defeating him. Reporting from Tampa, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Abigail. Well, the battle over the confirmation of new Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh may be motivating more Democrats to vote in the upcoming midterm elections. A new Politico Morning Consult poll finds 77% of Democrats say they are very motivated to head to the polls come November, whereas 68% of Republicans say the same. Morning Consult's vice president told Politico the Kavanaugh confirmation seems to be a big factor energizing Democrats. 78% say they think it was wrong for the Senate to confirm him.
Well, joining us now is Penny Nance of Concerned Women for America. Penny, Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation marked a historic moment in American politics and history. I want to get your thoughts on how things have changed in American politics after the Kavanaugh confirmation, but I also want to ask you, I know that you were at his swearing in the other night, so what was that like?
It was a joyful moment. I mean, it's that kind of thing where you've been through something together, you know, that moment, and you come out the other side. It was very joyful and collegial. We were so grateful to the president for standing firm. Concerned Women for America members all over this country called their senators and emailed them, and we had a rally of 500 women for Kavanaugh up on the Hill, and we had another times we had a couple hundred visiting offices. So Concerned Women for America members showed up, and conservative women in general decided to make sure our voices were heard in the middle of all this. And we're so powerful when we're together. And it was just this wonderful moment, you know, this week when we got to actually see the fruit of that labor. And it was a spiritual battle as well as a political one. And it's something like I've never observed ever in my time in Washington.
Penny, with the Kavanaugh confirmation now behind us and looking ahead to the midterms, there's a lot of talk that this has really energized specifically women. What's your sense on that?
100%. Our phones won't stop ringing off the hook. We had this moment where, as I said, conservative women stood up and said, "You don't represent me." When the Women's March mob descended on Washington and banged on the doors of the Supreme Court, we said, "Enough. You do not represent me." And for all the ways that the other side said they believe women, they don't believe that conservative women have the right to our own opinion. And that came through loudly and clearly. And we have reacted to it. And I think that you are seeing the swing in the polling data because it woke up the mama bears in this country. They poked the mama bears and they woke up.
I want to ask you, if you watch most news segments, they seem to portray the Democratic Party as being the party for women and the GOP as a party or conservatives that are out of touch with the Me Too moment. You work in a group that's exclusively promoting women, so I want to know what your thoughts are.
And by the way, I'm a woman who is sadly a card-carrying member of the Me Too movement. I'm a woman who experienced a physical assault and an attempted rape on a Virginia running path when I was pregnant with my first child. And we resent the politicization and the weaponization of the Me Too movement. And this idea that, you know, women think X, and that if you are a woman, you believe that you've only voted Democrat. We find that stunning and demeaning, and we're not going to allow it. In fact, this is not new. This is one of the key reasons Concerned Women for America was started by Dr. Beverly LaHaye. It was during the ERA, and it was the exact same mantra. Women think this. Women are liberal. Women are pro-abortion. And it was this pushback on that narrative that, no, you do not represent me. This is what I think. I am a woman. I am a Christian. I'm a member of a family. I think about things sometimes even more deeply than other people, because my identity is in Christ. My identity is not in just being a woman.
Penny, we saw Senator Susan Collins give that powerful speech before the vote for Kavanaugh, and then she's facing criticism, even still, being called a fake feminist. What do you make of that, this whole brand of fake feminism?
Well, it just shows you the intolerance that I was discussing, because there's this very narrow thought process, this very narrow list of beliefs and philosophical thought that you have to adhere to, or otherwise you don't belong. And, you know, we don't want to belong to that group. That's the reason that when young women are asked whether they're feminists or not, the vast majority say they're not. Because we don't march in lockstep with this very leftist ideological belief. The lawlessness that we observed is not who we are, and we don't want any part of it.
Penny, always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Well, Abby Johnson spent 8 years working for Planned Parenthood. As a clinic director, she helped facilitate more than 20,000 abortions. Then one day she walked away from it all to become a pro-life activist. Now they're making a movie about her life. Charlene Aaron has more.
Unplanned takes the audience inside the abortion industry, courtesy of Abby Johnson, once a passionate pro-choice advocate. As clinic director for Planned Parenthood, Johnson says she played a part in some 22,000 abortions. The film depicts her emotional decision to quit after watching an abortion via ultrasound. I interviewed Johnson on the set of the new film.
A movie about your life, how exciting is that?
It's very exciting. It's a little surreal, if I'm honest, to watch someone play out the worst version of yourself in a film, but it's also just a good reminder that God can literally use anything from our past and use it for his glory and use it for his kingdom.
Johnson's past included becoming one of the youngest clinic directors for Planned Parenthood and also a spokesperson for the nation's largest abortion provider. Actress Ashley Bratcher, who appeared in other Christian films such as 90 Minutes in Heaven and War Room, plays Abby in the film.
I only got 4 pages of the script when I auditioned, and I thought, wow, just in this 4 pages, there's this really interesting, amazing, charismatic woman who's having this experience, and it's real, it's gritty, but it's compelling. And I thought, man, I need to know who this woman is, and I want to tell her story. And after I saw Abby's testimony, I was just in a puddle on the floor.
When Bratcher's mother learned of her movie role, she shared a deep secret with her daughter.
She said, I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told you before. And she said to me, I was in the clinic. I had my name called. I went back. I was being examined by a woman who was very pregnant. And I was on the table, and that was when I changed my mind. To hear I was seconds away from just not existing. And then also to know that here I am telling Abby Johnson's story. What? I mean, it's so clear to me and evident that God's hand at work is present on this project.
Meanwhile, faith-based filmmakers Chuck Kunzelman and Carrie Solomon say they're preparing for the likely backlash against a film that highlights the ugly truth inside the abortion industry.
We're taking on a monster. We're taking on a great evil. We're taking on the devil's grinder machine. So when you go up against that, he's going to protect that. We have no naive thought that Planned Parenthood won't fight back.
There's nothing pretty about abortion. Both sides know that. Both sides, if they're honest, will admit that. Both sides are dug in pretty tight as far as whether they think it should be acceptable or not.
Johnson, now a pro-life champion, says the cast and crew know a spiritual battle lies ahead.
We pray every day. We pray against spiritual warfare in our home, in our marriage, with our family, and certainly with various pro-life projects that I'm a part of, and certainly this film.
But Bratcher maintains this project isn't about attacking the other side.
I think this film is about healing, about redemption, about knowing that you've never gone too far, that you can escape the grace of God, that he's so merciful, and that you can absolutely be forgiven.
Unplanned is set to be released next spring. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, how the work of Operation Blessing brought hope to the mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Well, you're looking at video from Panama City, Florida, as Hurricane Michael brings high winds and heavy rain. CBN's Operation Blessing is mobilizing to help storm victims in the area. Representatives will be on the ground assessing needs and working with churches and government agencies to provide assistance once the storm clears.
Well, Operation Blessing sends crews to help out after all sorts of disasters, including going to Puerto Rico last year when Hurricane Maria devastated that island.
Well, yesterday we brought you part of an interview with the mayor of San Juan, but we also got the chance to ask her how the hurricane and the work of Operation Blessing helped change her life.
Certainly, I'm not that same person that I was. I tend to see faith in different places that perhaps I never saw them before. And in a way, and again, not being disrespectful, but for me, it's more about just doing and letting that work show the love. Bill Thorne, that used to be in OB, he will always be an OB for us. He gave me the book, he said. So the book is just the Bible, but it's not, thou shalt not, you know. It's just written in normal language. And I didn't have any time to do much. We didn't have any electricity, so I took up reading. And I have to say, the book started, you know, I would put it underneath all of the other books, and all of the other books would fall, and there's the book, and all of the other books will fall. Finally, I said, okay, I get the hint. And it's not a word faith, but it's a doing faith. But it's also a faith that allows me and others around me to be who they are, not to judge. I was very judgy, not to judge. You know, it doesn't matter what your faith is. Again, as long as it comes from a place of love. It doesn't matter who you love. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. It just matters what you put out there for other people. And OB, or Operation Blessing, really, those words in the darkest times, because the Lord calls us to serve, were to me and will always be etched in my heart, because they were honest and because they were followed by the truth that can only be seen when people of common values come together. And the greatest common value is love. Love for one another and tending to one another when we're in need. And I will forever be grateful. And I don't know if you'll see this. And of course, I've seen the ads of the 700 Club. But Mr. Robertson, if you see this, you know, thank you, because you allowed us to survive and helped us to thrive. And people will forever be touched by what this organization that you lead is all about. And you didn't look at what our differences may be. You didn't look at what some will consider an unusual alliance. You just saw people in need. And I just saw a bunch of people that were infused with love and that beamed it out to everybody. So I am sure that people are alive because of what you all have done. And people will be saved in Indonesia, and people will be saved in North Carolina. And nothing was ever asked of us. Nothing except to have an open heart. So you gave with an open heart and helped us receive with an open heart. So I've been forever touched.
Yeah, and Operation Blessing, it touches so many people's lives and hearts, including the mayor right
That's
there.
right. I think what we witness is true transformation on the part of Mayor Julian Cruz, her reading her Bible, and also her talking about the change in her life where she's no longer yelling. She's actually just saying, I'm disappointed, and seeing how that actually has more weight. But that's going to do it for tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.